Okay, this is more two-step equations algebra review. It's page 5 of your algebra book. Here. Now, for today, we're going to work on 5 and 6, all of these problems. I'm going to go to a blank sheet, but this is page 5 of your algebra book. It might be helpful if you had like a piece of scratch paper to work on while I'm working. Okay. Get some paper here. And here we go. This is going to work on the first set, number 5. The first one is 3x plus 5 equals 20. Okay. Draw your divider wall. Now remember, we deal with this 3, that's with the x last. So that means that we have to, let me change this color, deal with this 5 first. So it's plus 5. The opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5. You have to do that to both sides. So these zero out. We're going to bring our 3x down and our equal down. Now on the right we have 20 minus 5, which is 15. Now over here on the left we have 3 times x. I'm going to do the opposite of multiply, which is divide. Going to divide both sides by 3. These are going to x out or cancel out. We're going to have 15 divided by 3 is 5. So x equals 5. Now for this first one, and only this first one, I'm going to remind you how you can check it. Your work. We have 3x plus 5 equals 20. Remember, right here we're saying x equals 5. So everywhere we see an x up here, we can substitute 5 for it. So now we have 3 times 5 plus 5 equals 20. So 3 times 5 is 15. And then we have plus 5 equals 20. So let's just solve it. 15 plus 5 is 20 equals 20. And 20 does equal 20, and that is a true statement. So we got that first one right. You can check all of your work on your equations by just plugging your answer back into that variable. So the second one is 2y minus 6 equals 12. Okay. We have to move that minus 6 first. So to move that minus 6, we're going to add 6 to both sides. Remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. The 6, negative 6 plus 6, those zero out, so we have 2y, and we have 12 plus 6, which is 18. Now we have 2 times y left. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. We're going to divide both sides by 2. Those are 2 divided by 2 is 1. So they don't zero out, but we're going to, if you do 2 divided by 2, you'll end up with 1y equals 18 divided by 2, which is 9. And this 1 right here, I like to call that the invisible one, because 1y equals 9 is the same as y equals 9, because if you have just this y, it's implied that there's a 1 there, because there's just one y. So you don't have to write that down, and I don't want to call it zeroing out, because it doesn't zero out right there. It turns into that invisible one that we don't have to write. Okay, so then the next one. We have 4x plus 12 equals 24. Draw our line. Okay, so remember, we deal with this 4, that's with the x last. You always deal with the number that's with the variable last. So instead of adding 12, we're going to subtract 12 to both sides. So then we have 4x, we'll bring that down, and then we have this 12 minus 12. That does zero out, that cancels out, so it's gone. No invisible ones there. So now on the right side we have 24 minus 12, which is 12. Now on the left side we have 4 times x. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, so cancel these out, or eliminate them. X equals 12 divided by 4, which is 3. X equals 3. Okay. Next one. 5y minus 8 equals 32. Oops. Draw our divider wall there. So remember, dealing with this 5, that's with the y last. Gotta take care of this minus 8. So the opposite of subtracting 8, is adding 8. You're going to do that to both sides. So we have 5y equals now 32 plus 8 is 40. Just a reminder, use your calculators at any point in time. That makes you comfortable because you can use your calculators on your GED test. So now we have 5y equals 40. So on the left-hand side, that 5y is 5 times y. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. We're going to divide both sides by 5. So that those two 5s, they'll be the invisible 1. They'll become that, but we don't have to write it down. So now we have y equals, here on the right we have 40 divided by 5. Go ahead, plug that into your calculator. You should get 8. Y equals 8. There you go. Next one. 7n plus 12 equals 21. Draw our divider here. Okay, so instead of, we're going to deal with this 12 first, adding that 12, we're going to subtract the 12 from both sides. So these will cancel out. We have 7n equals, now plug it in your calculator, 21 minus 12, and that will get you, oh no, I wrote this wrong, I'm so sorry, let's start over. Thought that looked funny. So we have 7n plus 21 equals 21. Oh, I like this one even better. Okay, draw our divider. So here we go, we got to get rid of this plus 21 first, and the way we do that is subtract 21 from both sides. Okay, so they're going to zero out, because 21 minus 21 is 0. So bring our 7n down. Now here, on the right hand side, it does something a little different too. 21 minus 21, well, we already said is 0. We have to write that 0. We cannot leave it blank, so we have to draw that 0 down. So we have 7n equals 0. Now we're just going to proceed like regular, like that 0 is a 1 or a 5 or a negative 20. So 7 times n, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. We're going to divide both sides by 7. Those become the invisible 1. We don't have to write that down. N equals. So now here on the right we have 0 divided by 7. And plug that into your calculator. 0 divided by 7. See what you get. You should get 0. So n equals 0. And that is your answer. And that's a valid answer. Okay, next one. 4p minus 1 equals 27. Draw our divider wall. Remember, we're going to deal with this this minus 1, by adding 1 plus 1 to both sides. So those will zero out. Bring our 4p down. Our equals 27 plus 1 is 28. Now the opposite of 4 times p is divide both sides by p. Left p's become invisible 1. P equals, now on the right we have 28 divided by 4, and that's going to be 7. P equals 7. Very good. Next one. 2x plus 2.5 equals 8.5. Draw a little divider wall there. We're going to deal with this 2.5 first. Always deal with the numbers away from the x, or the variable first. So instead of adding 2.5, we're going to subtract 2.5. These are going to zero out. We're going to bring our 2x and our equal down. So now we have, plug it into your calculator, 8.5 minus 2.5, and that'll get us 6. Okay? So now we have 2 times x, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Those 2's on the left become an invisible 1, so we're just going to bring our x down and our equals down. 6 divided by 2 on the right is 3. Our answer is x equals 3. Very good. And last one here. 4s minus 1 1/2 equals 8 1/2. Now remember, don't get freaked out by the fractions because you can use your calculator. And you have that second and D. Okay, so instead of 4s, excuse me, start over. You're subtracting on the left 1 1/2. So instead of subtracting, we'll do the opposite, which is adding 1 1/2 to both sides. These are going to X out. Okay, so now we have 4s equals, and we have 8 1/2 plus 1 1/2. Now remember, to get this mixed number, you're going to hit second and then n over d in your calculator, and you should end up with like a big box here and 2 little boxes there. So that's where you're going to plug in your numbers. So go ahead and do that. 8 1/2 plus 1 1/2. You should end up with 10. Okay, so now we're going to divide by 4 both sides, and your calculator might give you that 2.5, but your answer choice guarantee you is going to be in a fraction. So you're going to do those side to side, the triangle. Oh, I can't even draw. Hold on. It's a, I'm trying to draw a good triangle, but they're like the little triangles that look like this. Hit that button and it'll convert it, 2.5, into a fraction, or maybe you already know. It's 2 1/2. So s equals 2 1/2.